Hey there, and welcome to Decoding the Digital Lab with CSols, the podcast that addresses current events and offers insights. I'm your host, Megan Pettyjohn, and in this series, we're speaking to the latest industry buzz that people are trying to understand. In today's episode, we'll dive into a significant challenge facing life science laboratories in Canada, which is navigating the increasing costs and potential supply chain disruptions caused by tariffs on imported and exported goods. Joining me today is Dale Seabrooke, a longtime subject matter expert in the lab informatics and life sciences industry based in Guelph, Ontario, Canada. Hi, Dale. Thanks for joining me today.
Hey, Megan. Nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
Dale, based on your firsthand experience living in Canada, it seems like these tariffs are having a noticeable effect. Can you share some of what you're seeing and hearing about the direct impact on operational costs for pharma and biotech labs?
Sure, Megan. The impact is pretty direct. Given the close trade ties between the U.S. and Canada, it's a real ongoing issue and concern, really, for everyone up here. As you know, a 25% tariff was imposed in April of this year on non-free trade or non-USMCA goods imported into the U.S., and that's had immediate implications on Canadian business. And in regards to our conversation today, really laboratories that are reliant on global supply chains. We're talking about specialized chemicals, critical reagents, and even components for sophisticated analytical instruments, all potentially becoming more expensive.
It's interesting to consider the sheer volume of trade involved. I was looking at some figures, and in 2024 alone, Canada's exports of medical equipment and supplies to the U.S. were over $6.8 billion, and pharmaceuticals were even higher at $12.6 billion. That really underscores the scale of the potential impact. So, what kind of price hikes or supply chain issues are pharmaceutical labs in Canada anticipating?
Like you said, Megan, these are really big numbers, and the trade between Canada and the U.S. is very significant. We're each amongst top trading partners. Mexico is the U.S.'s largest trading partner, but Canada's right in there second and third. So, we're talking a lot of trade. And by impacting that with these types of increases, this can translate into some pretty significant costs. We're hearing reports about price jumps anywhere from 10 to 20% or even higher on certain key ingredients and specialized equipment. And it's not just about the price. Canada actually supplies significant chunk, around 15 to 25% of some specialized components for high-end lab equipment that's assembled in the United States. Again, that's where this free trade is so important. So tariffs there can create bottlenecks for Canadian labs needing those replacement parts.
That sounds like a double whammy: increased costs and potential delays. As a lab informatics expert, what strategies can Canadian organizations employ, specifically leveraging tools like LIMS to navigate these challenges?
Well, we're focused in the laboratory informatics space. So right off the bat, we look at something like a robust LIMS solution and how we can leverage that as a strategic asset in this environment. One of the critical areas is enhanced inventory management and strategic sourcing. So LIMS allows the lab to have a clear picture of the current inventory, quantities, locations, and importantly, the origin of those supplies right down to the country where key ingredients like APIs were manufactured.
That makes sense. Knowing where your supplies come from is the first step in understanding your tariff exposure. What can labs do with that information within their LIMS?
So great question. By tracking the origin, labs can readily identify materials likely subject to these tariffs. So this empowers them to make smarter sourcing decisions. And this is happening all across multiple industries within Canada right now. For instance, they may explore alternative suppliers within the country, completely avoiding tariffs altogether. We're also seeing a push towards made in Canada solutions with a significant investment in Canadian biomanufacturing. A LIMS can help track the availability and qualification of these domestic options. Companies are also looking at diversification away from purely U.S. sourced goods
It sounds like a much more data-driven and agile approach to procurement, which is essential in this volatile environment. What other benefits can lab informatics offer in mitigating these tariff impacts?
Well, it's kind of the thing we talk about a lot of the time, Megan, and that's optimizing workflow efficiency, right? Doing more with what you have will help manage your costs, things of that nature. So LIMS and ELNs can help streamline the often complex and highly regulated workflows in pharma and biotechnology labs. By automating manual data entry, managing quality control procedures more effectively, and accelerating analytical testing, labs can essentially do more with their existing resources. This increase in efficiency can help offset some of these higher costs of materials, cutting down on errors and streamlining processes, minimizing waste and maximizing productivity. This has always been a fact, but it's probably never been more important than now with all these other pressures placed on the lab.
Yep, that makes perfect sense. Every bit of efficiency gain can help cushion the blow of increased expenses. How does the data within a LIMS actually help identify those areas for optimization?
Another great question. The data within LIMS becomes a powerful analytical tool, and we talk about analytics all the time. By analyzing historical trends in reagent consumptions, looking at utilization of instrumentation, batch cycle times, and even quality deviations, labs can pinpoint bottlenecks and areas for improvement. So, for example, if a lab sees a high consumption of a non-tariff solvent in a particular assay, the LIMS data can prompt them to investigate more efficient techniques or smaller scale methods that still meet regulatory requirements. Similarly, analyzing instrument usage data can inform better maintenance schedules, preventing costly downtimes, especially if replacement parts are now pricier due to tariffs. It's worth noting that 25% tariff could really inflate production costs, potentially leading to price adjustments or even impacting the availability of certain medications in Canada. So this challenges to the supply chain, are a significant concern.
So the LIMS transforms from a simple tracking system into a real-time intelligence hub for lab operations, helping to identify cost-saving opportunities and improve overall efficiency.
Exactly. By leveraging the detailed data they're already collecting, Canadian life science organizations and laboratories can make informed decisions that lead to better cost management and improved efficiency, which right now is critical in navigating these tariff-induced financial pressures and ensuring a stable supply of vital medicines.
We've discussed tariffs increasing costs. What are the ways that life science companies can decrease or control costs?
Well, by leveraging a company like CSols Inc, the risks associated with fluctuating exchange rates can be mitigated as we engage our Canadian clients in Canadian funds. So we're doing transactions in loonies. Additionally, we don't need to worry about delays and costs impacted by consultant resources crossing the border. Our teams are already north of the border here in Canada.
Well, Dale, as we wrap up this episode, I'd like to ask you the same question we ask all of our guests. And that is, considering your vast experience in the laboratory informatics and your direct understanding of the Canadian life sciences landscape, what is one key tip you'd offer our listeners who want to achieve excellence in lab cost reduction while facing these tariffs?
Well, I guess first off is buckle up because we're not sure what we're going to get moving forward. So all we know is the unknown. But I guess my strongest recommendation, is for Canadian businesses in general to really do a deep dive into their LIMS data and the data that they have. Understand where the costs are highest, understand where they might have inefficiencies, and critical to this, figure out where they're vulnerable in terms of their supply chains. Use that data to drive sourcing decisions, explore process improvements, and justify investments in automation that can help you do more with less. Proactive data analysis is going to be the key for weathering this storm.
Well, Dale, I really appreciate you breaking down how lab informatics can help Canadian pharma and biotech labs navigate the complexities of tariffs and supply chain disruptions, offering a uniquely Canadian perspective.
It's been my pleasure, Megan. Nice to talk. It's a critical issue, not just for the life science industry, but for Canadian businesses all around. So it's certainly a hot topic of discussion. And I hope I was able to provide some insights today that are of value to our listeners.
Well, that's all the time we have today for our episode on decoding the digital lab. If you like this topic and want to hear more industry trends, please be sure to subscribe to our podcast and don't forget to sign up for our newsletter at the link below.